Good evening, my fellow Riz Elite members. This is Chris with Riz International, and I am joined tonight by the man himself. It's Riz. Riz, how you doing tonight, brother?
Doing well, thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And guys, we are here for your weekly market recap webinar, and boy, has it been a week to say the least. So there has been quite a lot of news out and about potential stimulus plans, the Pfizer vaccine, then the Moderna vaccine, and then the new news from Pfizer that theirs is actually 0.5% better than Moderna when Moderna beat them. And so it seems to be quite the news laden S&P 500 as of late. After we had the vaccine news here the other week, we just busted out a crazy gap up on the S&P 500, but it could not hold those gains. Came back down here below the previous all-time high. We did manage to bust out over it again, but then towards the end of the week, we just kind of, sunk back down into it. I guess the question on everybody's mind, Riz, is, what's your thoughts on what's going on? Are we going to see more sideways trading kind of like this until something gets FDA approval as far as the vaccine is concerned? And, how is, everything else going on here with stimulus and things like that affecting the market?
Yeah, so really a good summation of the questions that everyone has on their minds, including myself, right? So you're never in any absolutes, but ultimately this looks like a classic double bottom pattern. If you see the W that's been formed right now, we are lingering and hovering around all-time highs. So, I don't kind of think that I would say, get a strong meltdown because this is a bullish. Anytime you're right near all-time highs, we're heading into the last month of the year, and not to mention we already know, and of course the market has already factored in that, look, the coronavirus is still a thing. In fact, the second wave is something that I had been mentioning since April, May, and in fact, everyone else was too. Everyone's kind of aware of this second wave, though it's going to happen and is happening, and so the market's factored that in, and it's still near all-time highs. That says that the market's moved past. It's moved beyond kind of what could be the negative in terms of lockdowns, right? I'm not saying that, okay, we're going to start locking down and the market's just going to, shrug it off completely, because it's not. You can see that, over the last week where markets kind of have pulled back a little bit, even though, the Pfizer and Moderna news is still pretty recent. So I think, in my view, if I have to pick a direction, we kind of move a little bit sideways. Up and down, it's going to happen, but I don't think we're going to see a big pullback like 3,400 or something, 3,450 in the SPX just yet, right? In my view is, Mitch, you can hold off on the questions for now. We'll get to the questions later on. Okay. So with my thing being that I think we can move a little bit more sideways. We still have some time, till we really close off the year. And I'm going to be watching this just like everyone else. We don't know how this vaccine is going to play out, when it's going to release, what the actual efficacy of it will be, meaning how effective it is on the average person. And then, of course, who will be taking it? How are they going to roll it out? We have over 300 million people in the US, and, about 30 something million in Canada. We have, the global population of the world is nearing 8 billion. How is the rollout going to be? And even if logistically it's possible to do, hundreds and hundreds of millions of doses, every few months, who is going to voluntarily take it once it's released, right? So that's a big question. And as we know, when it comes to vaccines, anytime you do not have a certain percentage or wide enough adoption rate, the vaccine is as good as dead on arrival, right? So we have to kind of keep that in mind. And it's a constantly moving target. It's a moving target, one that no one has had to factor in. 2016, we had to start factoring in tweets from the president of the United States. 2020, we've had to factor in a pandemic and nonstop news cycle and updates on virus counts and cases and deaths, not just in the U.S. or Canada or North America, but across the world. So it's been, let's just say it's been a long year,
Very
and
much.
I can't complain. I'm very fortunate and blessed. But it's been a long year even for someone like me. And I'm just waiting and kind of waiting in bated breath, just waiting to see how things shake out as we enter kind of the precipice of 2021.
Very well said. Very well said. Let's take a look here at the S&P 500 itself, and after the initial Corona rollover here, the market has been just grinding up very steadily for quite some time. Currently now up 9.38% on the year, based here on the SPY ETF, which tracks the S&P 500. Tech is just the winner this year, as it has been for the last couple of years, really driving the market higher, up 28.61%, looking very, very solid at this point. Healthcare basically hanging out here with the S&P 500. Energy has been perking up a little bit. Back up close to the negative 40% as opposed to negative 50. And so, Riz, with the potential for, future lockdowns or restrictions, as far as that's concerned, I saw that, on, I think it's either Thursday or Friday, I can't remember which one, you took a position in Zoom, based on, the closures of school in New York, and things of that nature. Or I guess the question is, do you think that tech is going to continue to roll, especially if we see more, stay-at-home orders start to come out?
Yes, so we're in a bit of a flip-flop here. One, that we're seeing more stay-at-home lockdown type of measures globally, not just US. So that's beneficial for tech, as we know. But on the other side, we also know that there is potentially a vaccine on the horizon. So that's negative for stay-at-home stocks. That's negative for these crazy companies that have just run up hundreds, if not thousands of percent since March. So we are in that kind of area that, whichever news breaks first and kind of runs the most is where it's going to go. So, we saw at the end of the week, just Thursday, Friday, we saw a personal trade that we took in Elite was long Zoom, right? ZM, and we saw it continue to run. We saw TDoc, continue to run. So I think if you want to factor these in as tech, I think, yes, we are seeing a resurgence of stay-at-home tech type of COVID plays. And I assume that would happen for now correctly. The difficult part's going to come is when do we cut those trades loose and move on. So something I'm monitoring very closely, of course, and getting that timing right with the vaccine news is going to be crucial, because I assure you, the moment we see positive vaccine news on the newswire, the moment we see, dates and timeline on when the rollout's going to happen and who are going to be the first people, the moment we start getting details around this thing, I am presuming we see a big pullback in some of the major COVID benefactors, right? So I'm not saying tech is going to plummet, but some of these pockets where these crazy small companies that just are worth tens and tens of billions now in market cap should pull back a bit, right? And we also saw a hint of that, right? We saw a hint of that back, a week and a half ago, with some rotation occurring and coming into value plays, coming into energy. You can see that, beginning in November, right? Energy picking up. We can see the financials picking up, right? Real estate picking up a bit from the beginning of November. So, so far, I called it right. I mean, we'll have to see. Again, I'm not, a stranger to being wrong, but so far so good. As we lead into the end of the year, it's going to be very, very crucial to make sure we're positioned correctly. And I don't mind, taking less trades. I don't mind being a little bit more cautious now. I was more so during the election time leading up to it. that has gone and passed, even though things are still potentially in the air. I mean, politics aside, but that catalyst has come and gone. The markets have digested it well, especially considering that it's such a toss-up type of situation. And now we are in that kind of moment where, is the lockdown going to be continued globally? Is it going to be something temporarily? And then the vaccine news, of course. So those two are the things that we are now waiting for in terms of catalyst. That election catalyst is over, gone, dusted.
Absolutely. And guys, just save your questions for the end. I promise we will get to all of them. But I just don't want you to think that we are ignoring you right now. But we will get to your questions. Just please be patient. All right, let's go ahead and look at some commodities here. We kind of alluded to the energy uptick here since the beginning of November, and we are definitely seeing that in oil here starting to make a push up. And obviously, coronavirus has been probably the biggest hater on oil out there since people are just traveling less. There's not as much oil being consumed. And, we saw a huge rollover in the price here in oil, but we've basically been channelized here between this, 36, 37 area and about 44. And we are starting to come back up into that area now. Now, Riz, I know that oil is something that you have always followed, and it's something that you just care for deeply. And I'm curious, do you think that this vaccine news is going to be enough to push oil over 44 a barrel? And do we start seeing a more, bullish move on oil as opposed to just bouncing back and forth in this channel?
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely think some more solid vaccine details, rollout news, how efficient and effective it is. The more details we get on that, the more the oil market will stand to benefit. The more, individuals, and whether it's the corporate travel or whether it's personal travel, airlines obviously will be a big benefactor to this. Pretty much any retail, gathering space, whether it's a movie theater, whether it's an airline, whether it's a cruise ship, the moment we get more vaccine details, the moment we can see this positive, I would say, let's say, trend in terms of people taking the vaccine, people having good results from the vaccine. The moment we get, and I hope not, but if we ever get something like, oh, okay, the vaccine from Pfizer is ruled out. Again, this is just theoretical. What if it's causing some adverse effects in a subset of people that it didn't show up in the clinical phase 3? That's gonna destroy any confidence. It's going to roil the markets, and it's going to roil these stocks that are just dependent on consumer interactions and close proximity things like theaters, airplanes, and of course cruise lines and restaurants and everything else. So yes, in short, it's bullish for markets, bullish for oil if this vaccine news stays on the right side. The moment it's negative vaccine news in terms of adoption rate is not good, in terms of it not working as well as perceived, then it's going to be a negative.
Gotcha. And something that's looking a little bit bearish here is going to be gold. Ever since this huge run up we had during the summer in gold, ever since August, gold has been really in a pretty solid and stout downtrend. Riz, what is going on with gold? Is it people just kind of reinvesting back into the market, taking their money out of precious metals, or is there something else going on here?
Yeah, we've seen an outflow in gold, and we've been seeing that. I've said, we can see gold moving sideways or lower. I had said very, very unlikely that we see it go back to 2000 area. And again, you can see that it's worked out so far. I haven't bought any gold. I likely won't be. I'm not a buyer at 1800 area. I said that before. And also, of course, for transparency, I completely missed a run up from 1500 upwards. So that's a fact too, right? But at least I'm not chasing it. Many people tried chasing it and didn't work out. I am not one of those people, so I'm okay just watching it move sideways. There's a million other things that are moving and things that I can potentially get into and deploy capital. So I rather do that. When it comes to what's happening with the pricing, yeah, I think, leading up to elections, also we saw a little bit of a bump, right? Take a look at end of October, right? See those bullish candles, see how the first week of November was quite bullish, and then it just tapered off. Market just recalibrated and said, you know what, this isn't too bad, right? It isn't mission critical, whether it's Trump or Biden or John Doe in presidency. So really a bit of a correction there. And ultimately, I don't see gold going higher. Overall, I see more of a downward trajectory if I had to make a calculated projection. So yeah, there's money leaving gold. We have seen that. We've seen money enter capital markets and even bonds. So watching some of these, I would say these commodities pretty closely. And for now, no direct oil plays, no direct gold plays either on my end.
I wanted to show you guys, I have a very good graphic here that describes the Riz trading methodology here. It's right here. I'm sorry, but we don't chase here. There's no chasing in this chat room.
Yep.
All right. A little bit of humor there. So let's go ahead and take a quick look rather at the trades we took this week, and then we will open up the floor to all of your questions that you have. And I know some of you have been posting those already, and we will definitely get through those. Actually, a lot of trades this week as compared to previous weeks. So if you've been waiting for trades, this has been the week for you. First, we'll go ahead and take a look at Lemonade Inc. This is a new one, rather recent IPO here in August. We went ahead and took this one long at 62.40. If you are in at that point, you should be doing pretty good. We got in on the 16th, right in here. Had to suffer a little bit on the downside here, but you should be currently in the green if you're holding that. Currently, profit target 1 sitting in 65.50, 69.50, the profit target 2, stop loss of 58.50. We did not get there, so if you did take this, you should still be in it. Riz, obviously, I'm not very familiar with this one. Is this just a type of an IPO play, or what was your thought process on this one?
I like the company. It's a mix of technicals. I don't, get into IPO. This is one of the few companies that I've gotten into recently as a swing trade, not an investment per se, but something I've gotten into recently because I like the company, but I also like the technicals on it as well. So fundamentals there's a bit too early to talk about fundamentals for something like an IPO, but that's one of the reasons I took it. And nothing too crazy about it, and not marrying the stock or anything. It's just something I'm going to be hoping to close at some point and take a look at how I would say medium-term trajectory is before getting back in if I do.
Nice. Been good so far. All right. Biogen. This is a company I've dealt with before in the past. Oops, I hate it when I do that. Sorry about that. Switch back to the pointer here. Went for the knife catch on Biogen, getting in long at 249.60. Currently a little bit in the red on this one, and this can happen with knife catches, guys. This is one of those things where you get a huge dump like this. I mean, look at this gap. This is ridiculous. I mean, that's a crazy gap down. And went ahead and got in long on this one on, again, the 16th, again, right here. Sadly, we've rolled over, but I think this is still looking pretty good. If you ask me, if we can get some upward momentum here in the next couple of days, I don't see any reason why this can't make it back to 260. I think that's a pretty reasonable target on this. And so, yeah, I think this is still looking pretty good. Riz, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you nailed it. I think, so the crazy thing with Biogen is it had positive news on a Friday, which you see that big green candle. Yes, that green candle is legit. It went from sub 250s to 360, 350 area. An insane move. Did really well. And, a lot of us that were holding got out that day. And on the weekend, news comes out that, it's a fake out, the results aren't actually good. It's not as effective. And then on Monday, it just gets clobbered. On Tuesday, right? And man, it was just bad. It opened down pretty much lower than where it was pre positive vaccine news, and now it's made that climb back up to where it was before the positive, sorry, not vaccine, but drug trial news. So ultimately, I don't think that this is too bad of a hold for now. I definitely see it can come back to 255, 260. Sooner it does, obviously, the better. But I'm patient. I'm able to hold this. I think once it gets around 255, 260, then I'm not going to try and see if it can get back to its 280 area. I'm just going to probably take it off at that point, because this thing, in my experience, is a bit of a tricky mover. It just kind of lingers and lingers and lingers, and it's not something we want when we're trying to do a swing trade.
Absolutely. All right, T-Doc, we already mentioned this actually. We were looking at this bounce play earlier. Got in long on T-Doc at 179.50, and oh boy, this one worked out pretty darn well. Well past profit target 2 at this point, sitting right at 200 on Friday. Profit target 2 was 194. Absolutely blew it out of the water on this one. Well done, Riz.
Thanks. Yeah. So this worked out really well. Really nailed it by all accounts. I would tell people I'm still in it, depending on how futures move on Sunday, on November 22nd, and how things open on Monday, November 23rd. I may either take this off, depending on how it opens, or we let it run. I always tell people, when we have a trade that goes to where we want it to be, and you wish to let it run, which isn't a bad idea, in something that has a lot of momentum in it, and it's a benefactor of the kind of situation, right? If we see cities and countries even locked down and closed, well, Teledoc is a bit beneficial play for that. So the moment we have the catalyst on our side, we have momentum on our side, and the trade is going in our direction, it's not a bad idea to continue to let it run. But so long as people are able to manage the trade and move up or set a stop, right? Set a profit stop in this case. I'm not going to get into explaining how to use different brokerage orders, but ultimately a stop order is definitely possible in this case. And I always tell people, if you get stopped out, that's fine. As long as you got out at a profit, it's okay. You hedged yourself. You said, if it goes up, great, I'll make more. If it doesn't, well, you still got at a profit, and you just gave a little bit back. So not a bad deal regardless. And just same thing, if you bring up Zoom, same thing.
Yeah, we're about there. We got one more that I have to say I'm surprised I ever heard Riz make a long call on. Beyond Meat. We've had other choice words for this for this company in the room, and so got in long on BYND at 135, and holy cow, it's actually working. Currently up about $1.50 a share. Profit target 1 sitting at 139. Riz, why the sudden change of heart that we actually want to get in long on Beyond Meat?
Yeah, pure technicals. Similar to Zoom. I'm not a big fan of the company either. Crazy valuations in Zoom, for example. So pure technicals for both those long positions, right? You're right. I didn't ever think I'd be doing it, but hey, it's in my job to be as unbiased as possible and as clinical and critical of what's happening, and trade the trade. So that's exactly what we're doing. And so Zoom and Beyond as well, like you said, both apply here, where I'm taking a long position for a swing trade. Remember, not as an investment, for a swing trade and riding these things up if we can. Zoom is working beautifully, just like T-Doc. Beyond, not that great, but at least it's a little bit in the profit. I might just cut it loose this week. I don't like to, if you probably noticed, if you've been following me, you're an elite, you've been paying attention to what I do, or you're a student, you know that I don't, if something's, come back to break even after it's been in a loss for a while and I've carried, then I usually take it off. If something's lingering and not doing too much and it's kind of break even or a small profit, I'll still take it off, right? So I'm a very cautious trader, much more cautious than in my youth when I was in my early 20s, and rotating millions. That's just, now I've gotten old. So, I've sort of become a lot more cautious in my old age as the ripe old 29. So, for those of you wondering, well, Riz, you get in and out really fast. You take profits really quickly, and it's like that. One is, I've tried to evolve as an individual, as a trader as well. For my sake, for other people, it makes complete sense to take more risk. I do take large amounts of risk, but in a more conservative fashion, if that makes any sense. Whereas before, when I was younger, it was a lot more gung ho, a lot more, brash, and a lot more, I would say, more ignominious, more crazy in a way. But enough about me. Ultimately, yes, I think this thing, in terms of beyond, if it gets to 139, 138 even, fuck it. I'm gonna probably take it off. I don't like that 140, 141 mark. That's what I was very careful and cautious of when taking the trade. And unless we get a crazy big breakout, I'm probably gonna take it off.
Makes sense. And as you'd mentioned, we're talking about Zoom. I pulled it up for a second. Let me pull it here. Beautiful bounce off the 90, especially with the catalyst of the New York school closures. Really nice technical trade going very well here.
Yeah, we nailed that. In fact, a couple people in Elite were talking about it. Glenn, in Elite, different Glenn, not the Glenn on our trading team, but different Glenn. He actually mentioned it. He was the first to mention it the day before the news hit the wire. Right. So that's the beauty and benefit of being an Elite, because we have so many different people from all walks of life. And he mentioned that, because he's in New York State, and he said that there's news, because he's a teacher, and he said, there's news coming out that potentially we might start closing down schools. And he mentioned that a full day before. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And we were ready. Right. So, yes, it's absolutely a tremendous to me. I would say it's pretty apparent, how amazing and community driven we are in Elite. And, just this Zoom trade and the catalyst that was occurring in New York State with schools solidified that.
Really, really solid trade, to say the least. Then the last one we took on Thursday would be eBay. Got in long here at 49.77, a little bit under here with the red day on Friday, but still really nice uptrend here. I would not be concerned about this at all. Right now, I don't see any reason why we need to be getting out of this.
Yeah. So one thing, I closed this for a small profit, not a big profit, but small profit, because I think the entry was 49, like you said, 49.77 or something.
Yes.
My entry was more closer to 49.40s, 49.30-ish average price, because I scaled in. And when I got out, I can't remember exactly what time, if it was early in the morning or something, but I eked out a little bit of a profit, whereas it continued to go lower. So the trade is currently in the red for now, not by too much, but it is in the red by 1% or 2%. So ultimately, yes, you're right. This thing can move up. I just closed it because A, it was in the profit for me personally, and B, I wanted to take some exposure off going into the weekend. And I decided to do that with eBay. So for those of you that are that continue to hold, yes, the trade is in a little bit of a negative, but it's not a problem. It's not an issue just yet. I do think it can continue to go, and 50 plus is the kind of goal there.
Absolutely. So, guys, that was all the trades we took. Now, we had a couple questions. Let me go through those. The first one came from Mitch. His question was, with all of the money being printed, when will we see the effects of inflation in the market? And then the second question, how do we think that Biden's corporate tax changes will affect the market? And are these things are these things that will have an immediate effect, or will it take years to see?
Yeah, it's a good, thorough, multi-question, Mitch. So first thing, money being printed by the Fed. Yeah, so we know anytime you have excess money supply, anytime you have a lax money supply by the Federal Reserve, and the U.S. Treasury, it can lead to inflation. So let me tell you what's happening now. Right now, inflation is in check for the time being. It's not an issue yet. Will it be? We don't know, because again, we are in modern monetary theory. So MMT, meaning this is a different time frame than back in 70s and 80s, and how regulators, I would say, reacted to slowing economies and so on and so forth. So right now, we're in a bit of an uncharted territory. So if inflation isn't rearing its head out yet, that's surprising, right? But hey, it is what it is. It isn't. It is an issue yet. It's not an issue. So, Will it be? We don't know. Anything goes at this point, because look at the situation, look at the year that we're in, and look at what's occurred, and how, regulators and everyone, leaders of countries have had to react. So I don't see inflation being an issue yet. When it is, and when it does, we will start seeing it factor in slowly. It's not going to happen in a day. It's going to start happening slowly, right? So hopefully that answers your question on inflation. In terms of Biden's corporate tax plan, there's been a lot of talk even before the election about people freaking out about tax plan. It will not matter. It will not matter. I'll tell you why it won't matter. Because that plan will likely not see the light of day. Okay, I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I'm not going to expand on it. But even if by some miracle it does go through, it will not make a dent in terms of the market. Okay, no one is stupid enough to consider that, okay, let's ruin pretty much one of the biggest capitalistic economies on this planet. So no matter who it is, it's most likely not going to see the end of the day. And if you're interested in the politics behind it, right now, the Senate majority is Republican, the House majority is Democratic, and it's just not like it's just going to go through easy peasy. It's a big bill. It's not really going to be even, I would say, beneficial or positively, I would say, reception even from Democrats. So I would not be worried about it. I can't believe so many people are panicking. And remember, this bill is projected to negatively impact people with over $400,000 income a year. And I'll tell you what, people are like, oh my God, it's going to ruin me taxing. And if you are in that favorable position to make over 400,000 a year, I am, but I'm not in the US. So it doesn't matter to me. But speaking of those that are above in that area, well, guess what? It's not going to matter even if it does pass. Why? Because projected tax rate is completely different to the actual tax rate. This is what blows my mind. We have people that make $40,000 a year, okay, losing their shit, losing their heads, losing their minds over a tax plan that they will most likely never, ever impact them. And if it does, kudos to them, because they actually made it. If you made it to the point where you're making above $400,000 a year, kudos to you. I would gladly shake someone's hand and then listen to their opinion on a tax bill at that point. But it will not see the light of day. And if it does, it won't even matter to 99% of the people in the US. It's just painful for me because I've seen it from both sides as to the pros and cons of such a tax bill, as a tax plan, or it just blows my mind, the lack of critical thinking. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anyone, but man, the lack of critical thinking in people in nowadays, especially when we talk about something like taxes, which no one has any fucking clue of, blows my mind. Okay. So yeah, it won't make any fucking difference. And it's not something anyone needs to worry about. If you are making over $500,000 a year, you talk to me, send me a message, and we'll hash out how to, I would say, navigate it. Okay. Otherwise, don't even think about it for a second. It's not even going to go through. And if it does, it ain't relevant.
Well, there you go. Simon says, an article on the Wall Street Journal stipulates that Pfizer and Moderna are trying to get their authorization to deliver and provide the vaccine. If that happens in December, is it wise to invest in tech? My guess is no, but what do you think, Riz?
So a bit of a tricky situation here. We're trying to, yes, they are kind of doing it on a fast track program. They have it on the emergency use case. We don't know the rollout is going to be December. That's a conjecture. They're aiming for it, but technically we were aiming for a vaccine for months now. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that yet in terms of getting into tech. If you're looking to simply go very heavy on the coronavirus type plays like Wayfair and Zoom and those kind of companies only, then that's a big risk. But if you're looking to get into stuff like Apple and Facebook and Google and stuff like that, well, then that's not really going to matter too much. Even if, a vaccine approaches, these companies are still going to be fine. They're going to still be operating great. They'll still be maybe even doing better. So investing in those kind of companies, you can't really go wrong for the long term, regardless of a vaccine.
This question is worded wonderfully. I love this. It says, Riz, what do you think of joining me and going to the SRRK HQ and giving the CEO a quick knock on the head?
Yeah. So we are in this short. I am in this short. I took this short maybe a couple weeks ago. It is in the red currently. It is. I can tell you that they did an offering at $39 per share, and ultimately, the underwriters for this offering, okay, it's in their best interest to try and keep the price above $39. Okay, and I'm not going to get into the details of how this is done and what constitutes as an underwriter and the offering price and blah blah blah. But simply put, the stock price for them, it's beneficial if it stays above 39, and that you will notice eerily so has been the case. Anytime it comes down, it comes back up. It's propped up. It's being kept up, and we as individuals cannot fight that. Okay, so I'm still in the trade. It should work out, but at this point, when you have institutions doing their best to keep it above a certain level because it's in their best interest, that's not an ideal situation to be in, but this is where we are, right? And I continue to hold. I'm not going to close it out because this company is not worth whatever it's worth right now. This is a $10 stock type of thing. It's not supposed to be at this price just yet. An overreaction in potentially positive news. I say potentially because it wasn't even concrete enough when it comes to their drug trial. So it's bonkers. It blows my mind. And the volumes died out. It's trading on next to no volume. So any volume that's going through this is institutions back and forth. Market makers are going back and forth into this, just trying to kind of keep it afloat. Okay. So that's what we're seeing here. I'm not even going to try and make sense of this beyond that because I don't think anyone's buying it. No one's buying it at this price. And ultimately, the sooner it tanks, the better, the more happier I'll be.
Fair enough. All right, with DXY struggling, isn't that an indication that people are not comfortable to jump back into the market? Should we wait for it to gain some momentum before making any big moves?
DXY. So the dollar index. Ultimately, no. The dollar usually moves as a safe haven. So if the dollar index goes up, that tells us that, okay, maybe we have people considering taking money out of the market, going into US dollar, going into treasuries, going into bonds, right? So the opposite, actually. When we have a dollar that's lower, again, the dollar also changes based on economic and fiscal policy, depending on the current administration. So yeah, guess what? We've seen a dollar drop significantly over the last few months. Why? Because people were effectively moving to different currencies. People were getting out of the US dollar with all the uncertainty in the US election. And now it's kind of settled into the 92 area. It's not something I'm too concerned about. All things said, I'm not looking to, have the dollar. Remember, this is the dollar index, the US dollar compared to many broader global currencies. Okay, you got the GBP, you got the yen, the yuan, you got all kinds of major global currencies, and then it's indexed as a result of that. So again, the US dollar has gotten weaker. It's not a big deal. Okay.
All right. I don't think Nick is trying to be trolling here, but this is perfect because I can't wait to hear this answer. Riz, what are your opinions on Tesla? Is it a hold?
So this is a tricky one. I would take profits, especially I know there's diehard Tesla fans and there's people that believe in it. It's kind of like a cult. Okay, it's had a great run. Got into the SPX, great achievement. $500 per share. Remember, they already did a split back in September. So I think, what was it, 5-1?
I think so. Yeah, let's look here.
if you can click on the S there for me.
Yep, 5-1.
5-1, right? So what is it? Think of it like this. This stock right now, pre-split, is about what, $2,500 a share? That is, crazy, right? And look at the valuation, right? It's way too high. If you are sitting on money in this trade, take some money, take some profits, please. Sure, it can continue to go up, but are you willing to bet your profits on it? I personally wouldn't be. Okay, it's almost overbought. Look at the RSI. Usually, when it sets up a formation like this, it usually trickles back down. So we can see that with Friday happening as well. Okay, so personally, better take some profits. I would not be an investor or buyer at this level personally.
Do you have any thoughts on ED?
Yeah, I looked at the stock, Consolidated Edison. So yes, I think I remember looking at this back in September and thinking, okay, you can run, and it ran so much that I was like, fuck, I missed it, and then I didn't touch it. And now it's kind of hit that multiple top, around the 82 levels and then broken down. As you can see on Chris's chart, it's holding near his 90-day moving average.
Yes.
I think it's a good utility play, right, for holding. Really going to come down to your time frame for holding. I think this is a decent entry. I think it's holding this 76 area and above. So yeah, I can't blame you for holding. I think the $82, like you said, is a good profit area. Just needs to kind of push above, right? It really depends on where you are, if you have a position in it or not, or if you're looking to take a position. I'm not sure because you haven't clarified that. But if you so no position yet. I just seen that message. So maybe you want to take a starter, right? Maybe you want to take a starter. This is a good utility play. I think 76, 77 is a good starter play position, and see if it can continue to curl back upwards. Okay, they also adjusted a recent dividend. So usually we know that sometimes when a dividend is issued or the ex-dividend date is issued, then what happens is you see the price come back a bit, right? Some of the dividends taken out of the stock price. Okay, just my 2 cents.
Absolutely. What's all this talk about Solo? It looks like a junk. Looks like it's about to tank. Any thoughts?
Yeah. It's crazy. Another hype, $2 stock that's, going up maybe 5-6 fold. So, it's just one of those things that just pops up on the scanner, on the news, or on a large mover kind of scanner. It's just, I saw it on Thursday, on Friday on my scanners. Will it tank? Who the fuck knows? It's crazy. These things happen all the time. I see these kind of charts enough that, and then Josh just came in with some insights. He said it's part of the EV craze. Precisely. EV is going crazy. We've seen this, with Tesla getting listed, NIO, this, Workhorse, Nikola, yada, yada, yada. Just any Tom, Dick, and Harry in their mom's basement who is potentially working on an electric car, and if they're publicly listed, that shit's going up. So that's the best explanation for this. All right, where it goes from here, who knows? Because look at how this stuff moves. It goes up fast. It can either continue to go up or it can just puke back down. And we've seen this with SRRK. That was a biotech play. But anytime you have these small caps moving like this, there's a reason why I don't trade this, because there's no edge. It's all gambling. You get enough shares to short, great. It can still not work out because it can be propped up. Most of the time, you can't even get enough shares to short. So yeah, I don't bother.
Okay, what are your thoughts on MP?
So, not too much pricing data on this beyond or before July. So I'm assuming this is a recent IPO, I think. Okay, just listed, Mitch said. So that's good. Yeah. I have no clue. Never looked at it. I think maybe Mitch, you mentioned it briefly in the chat room. I can't recall. Maybe I haven't looked at it to be honest. First time I'm looking at it. If it's a metal play for the EVs, if it's a play on lithium and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it could. The industry is changing. The world is changing. I know that better than most in the kind of sphere that I'm in, and yeah, honestly, I think if it's something that you feel confident about, most of these kinds of new listings all come down to your commitment and conviction to your thesis. Okay, so if this, I'm assuming this is a rare earth play like you said, but it's specific to lithium or cobalt or stuff like that, which is used for EVs, then you need to ask yourself, do you think the management is good? Do you think the price is fair? Do you think it has more growth? Do you think it's a good valuation? And yada yada. So once you come up to a conclusion, whether that is a yes or no, then you have to come down to the fact that, are you willing to stick to it? Are you willing to hold? Because trying to make sense of it at this stage is very difficult. Like whether it's lemonade or something like I traded before, and have a trade on right now, that's more of a conviction play, right? There's not much fundamentals to go about it. Lemonade had a little bit more pricing history because it's not a really new IPO. It has some pricing history already. So there was a technical play along with. For this is not really much of a technical play. More than anything, it's overbought. So if it's something that I'm looking to buy, no, I would just one of those kind of stocks I just monitor for the time being. That's on a personal level, right? But if you have a conviction and a thesis, then absolutely, you have every right to kind of take a position and just don't go crazy.
And guys, when you're looking at fundamentals and things like that, please make sure you're staying objective. One of the things that Riz mentioned was like, what's your conviction in it? Do you, how much do you think the valuation is? Be honest with yourself on that, because it's easy to say, oh yeah, this is obviously a $25 stock, when maybe the data really isn't there to support that thesis. Just because you like what they're doing and you think it's going to go isn't necessarily going to mean that it's going to go. And guys, fundamental analysis is one of the things that Riz covers in the masterclass. So if you guys haven't taken that, highly recommend
Stock trading, yep, stock trading masterclass. I cover that. The options trading masterclass, of course, very specific to options. But yes, absolutely take that. Take that. It just released, and if you are watching the recording, and you're an elite, well, it's out, it's released, and it released on Friday night. And I'm telling you right now, pricing will be going up. This is my gift to you. This is the culmination of all my experience over the last 13 years of the methods and strategies that I use for trading stocks. And of course, with the stock trading masterclass, it's the methods and strategies that I use for stocks. Combine those two with the help and guidance that you get in Elite, and I'm telling you, it's a force to be reckoned with. It's one of the greatest, I would say, combinations you can have on this planet for growing your wealth and learning how to master a high skill set. Okay, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. I believe in it wholeheartedly. I wish I had something like this, and it's just unfortunate that I didn't. Also, it was a different time, so I'm making sure that people have no excuse, especially at this price point. Okay. And I just seen, as Simon mentioned in the chat room here, we just got a notice too on my phone that the FDA just approved Regeneron cocktail, right, that Trump had taken. So yeah, this is a bit of a breaking news. We'll see how it kind of moves. Markets are closed. We'll see how it factors into the price. And yeah, I would not be surprised if this, and then now we start seeing stuff like, Pfizer's and Moderna stuff start going through the pipeline for the FDA's approval.
See a couple people type in here. We got a couple more minutes, guys. So if you guys have questions, get them in now. Do you still advise taking half-size positions versus full-size positions? What market factors are you wanting to see before moving back to full size?
Yeah, so I think because of all the coronavirus uncertainty, this year has been one of those years where we take smaller positions overall. I think once we move past that, unless you're looking to invest and hold for years, then you can obviously, take any position size you want. But for swing trading, where we need to be more agile, where we need to have more capital and on hand to utilize an array of different positions, this is why I say half size, right? Because what if you take a half position and it doesn't go your way, but you have the ability to hang on? Great. You can hang on and not take another trade. The problem with full size positions happen in an environment like this that's so tricky with so many major catalysts. We got COVID, we got economic slowdown, we got politics and the election. This has been a year for the history books. This has been a year where we protect ourselves more than anything else, and that's where the half position sizes come in elite. Everyone's free to take half a size position, a full size position, a quarter, whatever you want. But ultimately, I've been more cash heavier this year than in the last 5 years. So that's my personal way. I think when we move to full position sizes, probably won't be anytime till next year.
Do brokerages require a minimum amount in your account to trade options? My trading account is a lot smaller than my investment account.
Yeah, some do. Some enforce a minimum, some don't. Right, really depends which broker you're with. I think like TD or something, TD Ameritrade might have a $2,000 minimum for trading options. Okay, don't quote me on that. And I think Interactive Brokers has something similar. I know they have something similar for margin. Okay, so it might also be applicable to options. Okay, so a $2,000 kind of area. So again, not set in stone. Every brokerage has their own kind of parameters. I would confirm with your brokerage. I would maybe try it, see what they allow, what they don't, and then go from there.
All right, and I think this is a good question to end on, so this will be the last one. Thoughts on tech to value rotation? Realistic, or tech will continue to outpace the market?
Great question, Lloyd. I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think we are seeing a bit of a good rotation into value, but most of the rotation out we saw from tech are the stuff that's gone way too high flying, right? We saw things like Zoom get battered. We saw things like, the stay-at-home stocks get battered, and there's plenty of them, right? There's plenty of them. So we saw most of those get battered in the last few weeks, right? So the rotation was out of those and into value, okay, especially with the vaccine news coming into play. I think if you have the ability to hold, you have the stomach, you cannot go wrong holding things like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon for medium term. Okay. And regardless of what happens with COVID, I don't think the market's ever going to go back and say, hey, we really, really, really rather have something like, I don't know, a company that is in the business of, producing paper. Okay. Could be a value play. Sure, that may happen, but they're not going to just jump on it and leave companies like Apple and Facebook and Google on the wayside for that kind of opportunity. So there will always be money in these kind of stocks. There will always be exposure and people investing in these kind of companies, regardless of COVID and regardless of value. So you have to ask yourself, do you like the companies? Do you like the current prices? Do you have the ability to hold for at least a few months? Then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the rotation. Right, the rotation only matters for short term, and that rotation isn't surprising when it's coming out of things that are already up a few 100%. Right, so yeah, hopefully that answers your question a bit.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. Definitely, Riz, thank you so much for giving us some of your time, letting us pick your brain a little bit about the markets and everything going on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for your time. You guys put in the time and effort as well. So I do want to thank you sincerely. I want to thank everyone for taking the stock trading masterclass if you have already. And of course, recently, if you've already taken and jumped on the opportunity, the options trading masterclass, thank you so much. These two are ideal when taken, together. Once you have taken the stock trading masterclass, then you go on to the options masterclass. It's the best way to do it, hands down. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't have created it. I wouldn't have spent years on actually working on it. I spent a year, working on the options trading masterclass. It took a bit too long, but hey, at least I got it out. So I hope you'll be able to take it and you will get an immense amount of value. Will change the way you see options and use options, and you will finally be able to figure out how I use options, right? Because that's been a big hot topic. People want to know how I trade options, and that's exactly what I go over. So again, everyone, thank you for joining. Thank you for your trust and support. Have a great rest of the weekend. Be safe out there. And if I do not get a chance to get on these webinars, in terms of the weekly webinars before the holiday season and before New Year. I wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to you and your family and loved ones.
Very well said. And I'll close it out as always. We'll see you in Discord on Monday.